What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Wellness Wire. My name is Wade Mulhauser. I'm the CEO and founder of Plugged In Recovery. I am super excited because this week we have a good friend of mine and a partner in recovery with Monument Recovery. But her name is Cassie. We're going to get to know her story, talk to everyone in the community, I think, has a different approach of how they get into recovery, and those who find a purpose going into this business, it's never money driven. It's usually they found help in the community and then they take that help and they decide, I have a new purpose in my life and I want to help other people. Cassie is a shining example of this exact story. So today we're going to get to hear everything that she's done in her journey, where she's at today. She'll talk a little bit about our partnership with Monument. But without further ado, Cassie.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Super excited to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking me to come.
We are pumped to have you be on the podcast today. So just tell us a little bit, maybe let's start not quite from the beginning, but how did you first find Monument Recovery? Maybe, what did that 6 months before Monument look like?
Okay. Man, you kind of hit it right on the head when you said that we get into this because somebody first helped us, right? Man, 6 months before I found Monument. So I was a client of Monument. I was one of our very first clients when we first opened. So before me finding Monument, especially 6 months before, I was a degenerate drug addict. The 2 months before I came to Monument, I was actually incarcerated. I was in Estrella County Jail. Great place. Never been there. Best food ever. Invite only.
Invite only is for sure.
No, but it's so I got arrested. I was living out of my car, doing all the great drugs that I was on. Mostly fentanyl was my crippling vice. Had lost everything, was extremely just at the lowest point in my life. By the grace of God, I was arrested, taken directly to Phoenix, to Estrella jail, and was sentenced to 3 months of time for violating my probation, for just not checking in, because I had better things to do.
Of course.
So judge said 3 months, 90 days. You can get out early if you go to rehab. I had never been to rehab before. And I just really heard the word early. So I was like, yes, I will absolutely do that. 100%. Spent about 2 months sitting there waiting for a rehab to come and get me. And Unhooked came and got me, actually. I will forever be grateful to them. And so they came and got me after 2 months, went to Unhooked. I was at Unhooked for about 2 days. And they realized that, yes, I had access, but my primary was a marketplace plan of Banner Aetna. Now, at the time, I don't think anybody really knew what to do with marketplace plans. Like, they just looked at it like, you have a commercial plan. So they were like, you can't stay here. But we found this place in Mesa called Monument Recovery. They just opened up not too long ago, and they will take you. And I didn't know really much of anything. I was just like, sure. They had me in the case management office, got me on the phone with this guy. They said, here's the owner. His name is JP. Talk to him. So I got on the phone with JP. And from what I remember, when I spoke to JP for the first time over the phone, he was explaining to me about their program, which was great and it sounded amazing. But what really resonated with me was he had, like, his whole main point of talking to me was, hey, even if you don't come here, I will help you. I know Unhooked is about to give you the boot. I was worried because I needed to do at least 30 days of treatment. That was the court order. That's what got me out of jail. So I was like, hey, I need to be somewhere, and they're about to kick me out. So he was like, and he heard all that and he understood what I was going through. And he's like, even if you don't come here, we will find somewhere for you to go. And I'm like, what do you mean we? Like, you don't even know me. Who are you? And why are you trying to help me? Like, I'm a piece of shit. I am a drug addict who just got out of jail, and like this, why? It was like the first time somebody had shown me any type of compassion or help or care in the world. And I was like, okay, like, what do you want from me? Like, there has to be some ulterior motive here. But he sounded like the most genuine person in the world, and I remember hanging up the phone like, I want to go there. I want to absolutely go there. And fast forward a week, and I ended up there. I ended up walking in there, and they did my intake, and yeah, it was completely different than where I was before, and it was the best thing literally one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life.
So you walk in the door at Monument after being court ordered, first thrown in jail, then court ordered to do treatment. Mm-hmm. You go to Unhooked, then to Monument. Mm-hmm. Tell me this, because I know like the first time I had went to rehab, I wanted to stay sober, mm-hmm. but was your intention of staying sober forever at that point, or was the intention, I have to do these things so I don't go back to jail, and if I put a little bit of time in front of me, I can, go back to doing what I want to do, and like these things will be pushed to the side? Or was the intent like, I want to change my life?
Sure. I did not get really sober, until I was 31. And from about 17 to 31, I had this underlying, sometimes like a low roar, sometimes a very high scream in my head of wanting to get high. Opiates are my drug of choice. And I truly believe, and there were times between 17 and 31 that I was sober, but like white knuckling sober. Like telling myself every single day, either you need to stay sober today, or I really want to get high today. I could be at the best point in my life. I had my real estate license, I had little kids, like everything on the outside looking in, like I should be completely happy. But something in the back of my head is like, really, this is all beautiful. It'd be a lot better if I was high. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, what is wrong with me that I think like that? So going into rehab, I'd never been to rehab before. I'd never been to treatment before. I had never been introduced to recovery before. So going in there, I went in there with a complete open mind. Like, I really hope I get this. I really need to be sober. I have so many reasons in the world to be sober. But in my mind, I truly, genuinely thought in my mind, like, I'm still going to think like that. I'm still going to have that obsession. I might be sober. I might stay sober for the rest of my life. I hope that I am. But I know that I'm still going to have that voice in my head, like, I really want to get high today. Or this is great, but it would be a lot better if I was high. Or I thought it was going to be a fight to stay sober every single day.
That's awesome. And I think a lot of people don't realize that about addicts in general, and we see it every single day, is can we do piece of shit things and bad actions? 100%. But in our core of cores, do we know we have enough reasons to want to get sober, right? Like you brought up your kids, mm-hmm. like you want to be a mom, you want to be there for them, but you just know that screaming little voice won't go away. Mm-hmm. And like when it's on you enough and that gorilla's on your back, mm-hmm. like it's a matter of time before you give in and use. Yeah. So you go to Monument. What changes? When does it change? What does that program process look like?
Yeah. So many things. And, I tell my sponsees this, I tell, clients when they go into treatment, when I, talk to admission calls, it is so many things that took that obsession away from me. It's one of the promises in the book. It's one of the promises that AA and recovery promises us that obsession will be lifted. I think for myself, getting introduced to recovery and going to a meeting for the first time and raising my hand and saying, I'm Cassie and I'm an addict, and everyone cheering for you. And giving myself, I believe, that answer of, oh, that's why I've had that obsession this whole time. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm not like defected. I'm an addict. And it almost gave me a reason, an answer, and it gave me so much peace. Like, okay, now I know that that's what it is. And then of course the allergy and learning about that, and giving myself a new solution. Fellowship is extremely big for me as well. Like, I'm a very social person. I'm very extroverted. I love to be around people. I love friends. I love family. I love connections that you make with people. So to surround myself, to get thrown into recovery, to get thrown into Monument, and, you know, meeting JP and Aaron and Greg and all the people that work there, all the staff that work there, they're all just addicts too, and alcoholics, and have been through just as low points as I have, and seeing how successful and happy they are and supportive, and all these people love me. That's super helpful. That's 100% was so comforting to me. And of course, you know, getting a sponsor and working my steps, and then me sponsoring women and helping them. I mean, it's all a combination. And, you know, in rehab, you get therapy, you get group therapy, you get to the deep rooted stuff. So I feel like that is why treatment is so beautiful. You get introduced to recovery, you work on the deep trauma, everything that I believe everyone should work on, and then like current things, surface level things like working your steps and finding that fellowship and going to meetings. So you're attacking it on all cylinders. And like, it wasn't like an aha moment. It was almost like I just kind of noticed, like, hey, I'm not thinking about getting high anymore. Like, this is cool. I'm going to continue doing this. For the longest time, for over 10 years, I don't have that voice in my head, like, either you need to get high or you need to stay sober. And that was beautiful for me.
I think that's amazing. And something that you touched on briefly there that I think I want to highlight, that not only I believe Plugged In does super well, but I think why our partnership with Monument, and I know JP super well, and Greg and the entire staff over there, and I think what aligns with us most and what allows people to have the experience that you had at Monument to come out on the other side. With most addicts, you're never going to get to those deep rooted issues. You're never even going to give recovery a chance unless you understand the people who are there to help you genuinely care about your well-being and want to help you. Tell us a little bit about your kind of experience with that. Even, I mean, you touched on it with like the first call, but as you went, were there any like struggles or hiccups where like somebody stepped in and then you were like, man, like these people really care about me?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, even when I talk to JP now, and, you know, we've gone to business meetings together and we've shared our story, like I shared like how I found him and how I'm so grateful for him, and he shares about, you know, vice versa, and how he's so grateful for me. But like, there's little things that I don't even know if he even thinks about. So I did 4 months of treatment. I only had to do 30 days, court ordered, but I ended up staying for 4 months. And
was that helpful or harmful for all those listeners out there?
It was so helpful.
Okay.
The more treatment, the better.
Fair enough.
No, but so I did 4 months of treatment, and then I was coming up on, inevitably my discharge date, when I didn't even want it to end. But I didn't know what I was going to do.
Yeah. I
didn't know, like, I had blown up my life, lost my career, my house, my car, my children, everything that mattered to me. But I knew that, like, I had made it this far, and I'm gonna figure it out. You know, my sponsor was like, she just kept saying, just pray about it, just pray about it. And I'm like, okay. She was like, just, you know, the third step was really big in my life, just turning everything over to God, and, like, you know, turning your life in your will, and, like, he has a plan. And I was just like, okay, just blind faith, like, everything will work out. And JP said, hey, I'm gonna open up this sober living that we're going to have for the IOP clients. Will you manage it for me? I know you're going to graduate soon, so will you manage this house for me, and I'll let you stay there? And I said, absolutely, because I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. And he was like, great. So almost directly, like, graduated and then moved into the sober living, and now I'm managing all these other like outpatient clients, which was great. And then about 2 weeks later, one of our BHTs had gotten sick and called out, and I just so happened at that moment I was sitting down with JP having breakfast with him, and he got the call, and he's like, oh, you know, this I need coverage for tonight. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm like, me? Like, why not me? I want to work for you. And he was like, you just graduated. Like, there needs to be some type of buffer so you're not like a BHT with clients that you were just in treatment with. And I'm like, they're fine. Like, nobody cares. And I was like, come on, let me do it. And he was like, okay. Like, he wasn't going to say no.
Yeah.
I was like, and he was like, okay. So, yeah, from that moment on that I finessed my way into being a BHT, I started working as a BHT and, moved up fairly quickly. I think because at that point I was so close with JP and Aaron, who's our operation director, and Greg, who's our co-owner, because I was so close with them and had known them for, months before that, me coming in to work for them wasn't like another staff member coming in where they're like, they need to sit back and observe and like make sure they're not overstepping. Like I came in and I was like, hey, I'm going to redo all these documents. Okay. And I'm going to do this and we should do it this way. Cause I didn't, I knew how it all worked and they were so comfortable with me that they were like, you want to redo, do it. Like, do what you do. And I was like, okay. I think that had like a huge piece to how I moved up so quickly. I just took my independence, my autonomy, and I was just like, I'm going to redo a few things and I'm going to, I'm going to put my touch on it. And they were like, cool. So, was a BHT pretty soon. I was like case managing every client there, just handling all of their stuff, redoing all the documents, creating more and more documents, just fine tuning systems to be helpful. That's what I wanted to do, was be helpful. And, pretty soon, very quickly after that, like a few months into that, I had found out that I didn't have a driver's license and like it was suspended and we had to find that out. And here, now I can't drive the 14 passenger van and drive around the clients. And like looking back on it, like JP probably should have like let me go at that point. Like how I need you to be able to transport the clients. But I I'm very convincing when I want to be. And I'm like, well, they have H&Is on these nights. So then they don't really need to take them anywhere. So I'll just, work on these nights and it's fine. And he's like, well, you're going to be working like 20 hours a week if you do that. And I'm like, that's fine. I'll do that. Like, I will do that. I don't want to go anywhere. And he was like, okay. So like little things like that. I went to jail at like 9 months sober. Like I just got done chairing a meeting, like a huge meeting, Tweakers Hope, at the Coop. There's like 120 plus people and I chaired it and I'm driving home. It's like 8:00 at night and I get lit up by cops and I pulled over and right away he walks up to my window and he's like, hey, call me by my name, Cassandra Henricks, you have a warrant. And I'm like, damn it. I'm like, for what, dude? I'm like, hey, I have like 9 months sober.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you have a warrant for narcotic possession. And I was like, no, dude, like that wasn't me, like absolutely not. And he was like, well, let me look into it. And he's like, oh, this is from July 2023. And I was like, okay, yeah, that was probably me. That checks out. The dates check out. So I end up getting arrested, get taken down to Phoenix because it's a felony. And when you look at like booking charges, it just says possession of narcotic drugs. It doesn't say from 10 months ago.
Yeah.
So in JP's mind, he's like, she relapsed, which, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
He wasn't mad, but I know that, that's what all they were thinking. And they were still down there trying to bail me out with cash in hand, and I got out and I figured that out. I'm like, you guys are gangster.
Wow.
I love that. And of course they got out and they drug tested me and they were like, okay, like she's telling the truth. But like so many things happened that they should have been like, you don't have a license, you're getting arrested. But they didn't let me go. They kept me on. And I think that they knew like she wants this. She has a lot of stuff she needs to clean up, obviously. Like she left, a destruction in her wake, but she's not giving up and she is doing this. And that same type of determination that I had, I think, was matched by them in me. And that same type of faith that they had in me, I try to instill the same type of encouragement and like, you can do this. And I know that there's a lot of mess to clean up when you get sober. But if you continue to do the next right thing, like it will all work out. it will all work out. I know that it's a lot. And I try to tell clients that the same thing when they're first getting into treatment. You know, sometimes I know it feels like there's no way that I can't fix this. This is unfixable. And it's like, no, trust me. I know that you can fix everything. If you keep doing the next right thing, it's fine.
That's awesome. And I love how Will was on here with the exact same thing when we talked about, you know, those experiences uniquely qualify you to help someone else who's in the depth of their addiction, who can't see a way out, who are like, you don't understand, there's all this other stuff out there that I've been struggling with, that, you know, I don't have my kids, I lost my car, I lost my real estate license, I'm rudderless right now, I don't know what I'm going to do. And you can literally look at them and just say, I know exactly how you feel, I've been where you're at before. And I think it's even more of a testament for your story that you didn't have any wherewithal that you had this warrant out there, right? You had every reason to sit there in that moment and say like, well, screw it, you know, screw it. I have this warrant. I might go to jail. You know, I probably have a fine. And I've seen, there's a guy in one of our houses that, this poor dude, man, he has about 2 years sober now. And this guy has gotten picked up about 8 different times with different warrants that just come out of nowhere. And then he gets sent to Tucson. He's gotten sent to, what's that place down in San Diego where, by San Diego? Kelsey's from there. I don't even know, but it's
Yuma.
He gets sent to Yuma. He's been to Yuma like 3 times. It's just, I mean, this guy is just a fighter of all the things that he's been through, and he just works the steps, right? Like, this is the wreckage of my past that I have to clean up. He's currently serving some time to finish up clearing it all out. And I couldn't be more proud of how this man has handled it in his journey. And I say the same thing, is like, man, like, we're here to support you, and on the other side of this, you are going to be so uniquely qualified because like you've had every reason to give up, but you've seen the magic of this program. So I think that's a true testament to your story. So fast forwarded even a little bit.
Hold on, Cass, tell them the story about when you got pulled over by my friend from high school.
That was cool.
Okay.
That was cool. So I had, funny thing about it is I had just gotten my license back. And so I had a piece of paper from the DMV. You know, they issue your license. And I was totally fine getting pulled over. I was like, I have a license. So he pulls me over and, you know, does the whole thing. I was listening to like a motivational video with my phone. And so, but he sees a video playing. So he pulls me over. He's like, hey, you can't be watching things. And I was like, I was listening to it, but fair. And he's like, you have your license? And I hand him a piece of paper. I'm like, I just got it back. Here you go. And he's like, he looks at it and he was like, okay, why'd you lose your license? And I was like, couple DUIs. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. And he was like, okay. He's like, where are you coming from? And I was like, I'm coming from the residential treatment center that I work at. He's like, where are you going? And I was like, I'm going to the outpatient treatment center, the sober living that I live at. And he's like, okay. And I had just finished an event at Crossroads. So I had like a table and all these boxes of like merch in my car and stuff. But it's dark out, so he just sees probably my car being packed full of stuff. And I was like, I work in treatment. That's what all this stuff is. That's where I'm coming from. And he was like, okay. I was like, I'm sober, by the way. You know, and he was like, okay, that's great. He's like, how long sober do you have? And at the time I had like, I don't know, like 14, 15, 16 months sober. And he was like, and when you think of like 15, 16 months sober, for someone who's been sober their whole life, who has not struggled with addiction, you're like, it's not that long. And that's kind of what I was expecting him to say, but really he responded with, oh, that's a long time, congratulations. And I was like, thanks, because it is a long time, It's a big deal. And he's like, my friend I went to high school with actually works in treatment. And I was like, where does he work? And he said, Plugged In. And I said, oh, who's your friend? And he said, Eric Parra. I was like, oh, I know Eric very, very well. And it was right after we did, when you bought us the box seats for the D-backs game, I was like, I was just with Eric at the game. And he's like, oh, you were there? He's like, I saw those pictures online. He's like, you were there? I was like, yeah. I was like, so I work for Monument Recovery. You know, I know the owner. I know, you know, Monument and Plugged In do a lot of business together. Love them. And he was like, okay. And he could see, like, I'm not just talking, like, what I'm saying checks out. And I was like, and when the conversation ended, I was like, okay, let me pull up my insurance for you. And he's like, you're good. He's like, just drive safe. And handed me back my paper license and was like, go on. Like, you're good. Just drive safe. Turn the phone off. I was like, okay.
That's fair, dude. All right.
And then like 5 minutes later, Eric texts me and was like, heard my boy pulled you over.
They'll hold that over you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
But like, that's cool. Like, blessings of sobriety, doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you never know who knows people. So yeah, that was really cool.
I think that's one of the coolest things in the Phoenix area is it's pretty inclusive of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Most people these days understand. You know, I was joking with Scott, who's joining our team, and he was like, man, it's gotten to the point where being sober is like the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like you still drink, you're still getting messed up,
Yeah.
like you're still hungover.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously we don't throw shade. All of us who are sober loved doing the other thing, which is why we're out where we're here
Yeah.
we are today.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see just a community embrace it. And I think there are a lot of people who are trying to be game changers in the community to help change that narrative. So full circle, you complete the program, you're working in the program, you go through those struggles, you get into business development for Monument. What has that been like? And now let's, you know, fast forward to the last 3 months, and if there's anything you want to plug with Monument, anything you guys got going forward or anything like that.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure. Business development has been absolutely incredible. Loved working on the operational side, like being a BHT and working hand on hand with the clients, but it is such a blessing for me to be on the forefront and talking to those people that are still drunk, that are still high, that are in active withdrawal, that are so hopeless, that have all these barriers in front of them where they want to get sober, but they're like, it seems impossible. And talking to them and being that voice of reason and knowing exactly what they're going through and kind of helping them pave a way to see that end goal is absolutely incredible. And still to this day, I take those beacons of like faith in a stranger that JP showed to me, and I try to implement that in every conversation that I have. And it's such a blessing in my life to be able to do. Getting to meet, you know, people all over the community where like-minded people who have the same mission and just wanting to do this to help people, you know, just like you guys. It's incredible. It gives you the biggest purpose that it has never been, you know, matched in another category in my life ever. Obviously being successful is really good. When I stepped in that BD role and being like, all of a sudden like, hey, I'm good at this. That was cool. I didn't even realize that I was like doing really well. I'm just like running insurances and like getting people in. And I remember like a few months in, JP's like, hey, you're killing it, by the way. I'm like, oh, I am? Like, I'm just meeting people and making friends and sharing about the program, which I'm obviously very passionate about because it got me sober. It allowed me to rebuild my life. And you know, I just talk about how great we are and how you guys care about people and how you guys cared about me, and people are like, okay, I want to come there. I didn't even realize that I was doing really well at it. And then once I did realize that, and you just keep going and just add fuel to the fire and just meeting more people and helping everyone that is, like I said, in their most hopeless time. So it's been great. I also love, you know, getting flown across the country and doing like, you know, doing these fun events. Like I was just in the East Coast with you guys, which was super fun. I was just in Vegas 2 weeks ago. Like those opportunities, I even tripped myself out. I'm like, how am I living this life right now? Like, how am I living this life where I'm flying to Vegas with one of my best friends and we're just like, here you go, you know, get taken out to these amazing dinners. Like I went to Carbone. I'm like, Drake was here. Like, this is so cool. Like, this is my life right now because I got sober and because I'm helping other people get sober and I'm doing what is asked of us in those steps. And just helping the next alcoholic or the next addict. And, you know, with my team's help and then me out in the community, Monument has grown exponentially. We opened up the RTC back in August of 2024. Same thing as you guys, very, very similar. That was, I think, a huge turning point for us. And then, we still have the outpatient, we still have the PHP, we still have the IOP. We just started evening IOP. We saw a need there for people that want to go back to work and start making money, which is, very fair, or need to go back to work to their old job. So yeah, I think that it's been, the growth has been there, slow and steady, but also very fast.
Yeah.
It's like right in the middle.
Yeah.
But it's amazing, and I'm so blessed to be a part of it, because when I went there, we just had the outpatient, we just had the PHP and IOP. I was one of our very first clients, and now we're just, we're full all the time, and it's great. It's beautiful to be a part of.
That's awesome. I remember the first time you and JP came and toured the RTC up in Scottsdale, and I was like, I've never seen this girl before. I go to meetings, but she was in more NA at the time, I think, and so I'm more like AAHA or like my fellowships. But I'm like, who is this girl? And then what I think surprised me more than anything was not just like how friendly and a pretty face or anything like that, but it's like, here's this girl who like stands on business, right? Like, she's part of the alumni coalition. She's out there like making a difference in the community. It's not just some like sales tactic to try to get more people or anything like that. Like, she's heading meetings. She's grown Tweakers Hope to be an insane meeting. Like, this is a person who's like actively doing all the right things because she cares about the recovery community as a whole.
Sure.
And like, those are the people that we want to partner with. And I think more than anything, with JP and us and Monument, like, I'm the type of person, I will never forget someone who's helped me along the way. Like, and those are the people I'll always go back to, because JP was there helping me with licensing and my biller and things of that nature along my ride. Me and him still will meet up for breakfast or coffee and like talk about things. And you definitely have a company that cares about people, and I think that's what I hope that viewers get to see, is it's not about like who can win the most, right? Like, this recovery community, if you find the right people, are genuinely trying to place you with the right fit for you. There are people who we say are a right fit for Monument. There's people who are the right fit for Plugged In or like the sober living or whatever it is. And like, you truly want to see that person in their journey because you've been there, so you know what's going to work for them. As we kind of wrap it up, we always like to ask, what's a piece of advice that you would give someone who's, maybe on the fence about getting treatment, or maybe someone who's been to treatment a couple times? What's a piece of advice that you can give them? And then we'll go into maybe a struggle that you've overcome and how you overcame it, and a piece of advice around that. Sure.
So that one's a great question. What advice to give to people? So it depends. Like, it's someone who's been in and out of treatment, which is most people's story. Like, I feel like the outliers are the people like me who had never been to treatment before. Like, I was like the oddball out. People that have been in and out of treatment, one thing I always love to tell them is like, the last time's the charm. Like, it will work. Something will click, and all those seeds that have been planted, when people get desperate enough, sometimes you need a new experience. But what I do truly believe is the same way that you will endlessly and tirelessly chase that bottle, chase that drug, you have to have that same type of hustle for your recovery. If you go to a bar and you just don't like it, you don't like the vibe, you're not just like, oh, I'm going to write off all bars. No, you'll go and find a different one. You need a new experience. The same thing with recovery. And then of course, like, you're worth it to try again, all those things. But I get that. I get that all the time. And then someone who has never been to treatment, I just, tell them how amazing it is. Like, it is amazing. And I love those ones. I love the ones that have never been to treatment, because I know exactly how they feel. I know what I thought treatment was going to be, like somewhere between like school and jail is how I thought it was going to be. Like more like a campus, but you can't really leave. And it's nothing like that. You walk into all these people that know exactly who you are, your first and last name, or they should, they know your family, they know your mom, they know what you're going through, they know where you're from, they know your drug of choice. Like, they know you so so in and out. They know exactly, what your traumas are and what you need to really heal and get that progress that you need so you want to stay sober. That's what treatment is. It's like it should be walking into like a second family. And that's how amazing and beautiful that is the beauty in staying sober and finding the right program like Plugged In, like Monument, where I know you guys have that family feel that we do. That's what I think adds value to like that longevity in treatment. So I really hint on that when it comes to treatment.
I love that. And I think what's super cool to see is here's two people with two completely different experiences. You have Cassie, who is, the Kentucky, as I like to call it, the one and done, right? They go play 1 year at Kentucky and then they're off to the pros. And that was your experience. You were one time at Monument, you took all the suggestions, you stayed the 4 months, and you got it. You clicked right after that. For me, it took a lot of trial and error, a lot of not taking suggestions, a lot of, hey, you should do 30 days, then you should do 60 days of this, then you should do 30 days of this, or whatever it was. Yeah. And I was like, I could do 30 of this, and then I could try sober living for a month, and then I can do this, right? And I had to like fail over and over again. And what I like to tell people is, you're never going to get it if you stop trying. And I can't tell you what was different this last time. This last time, I had thought I had tried everything. Yeah. I was like, what is going to be different this time? Nothing. Mm-hmm. Nothing is going to be different. I've done it all. Mm-hmm. But something clicked along the way. Mm-hmm. And you have that possibilities if you keep getting up and you keep trying again. So I've kind of cut it short here because I hear some of the cameras coming and going.
Wait.
What?
We got to end it. Each one of you say what you love most about. You say what you love most about Monument. You say what you love most about Plugged In.
I'm gonna go first.
Yeah.
All right, Plugged In. Aside from the beautiful environment that they have created for their clients, which I think, shows such volume, that because people like me coming from living out of my car, coming from jail, you walk into these places and you're like, you feel worthy. And I think that is amazing. But also the people that work there. I'm very close with all of them. We hang out outside of work, and I'm a really big believer in vibes are everything. So I just know when I walk in there that I love the vibes, and I think that will also seep into the client, that you can still have fun, you can still be goofy, you can still be bros, and like go and do fun things and go and recovery is still fun, and I think that shows.
I love that. And thank you for that.
Of course.
What I would say I love most about Monument, other than just saying ditto to all of those things that you had said, is the people there genuinely care. With the full track program, I like to say it because they say it in church, right? When they're trying to get your 10% of your money to give, But they say like where your money goes is like where your heart is. Yeah. And what I really love about Monument and JP and Greg and yourself is you advocate and you fight for clients. Yeah. And that means sometimes that you have a client that you got into there. I don't know if that's on anymore, by the way. Great. That you advocate and you
restart what you like about
Monument. Fuck, dude, you're killing me, dude.
Okay. I got you.
Okay. So what I love most about Monument is, other than just saying ditto to all of those things, because I couldn't agree more, is you have a culture and you have the staff that genuinely care and advocate for people. And I like to say it because at church, when they're trying to get your 10%, they always say where your money goes is where your heart really is. Because it's easy to give a little bit of time, and yes, does that have a cost value? 100%. But like if you're spending money on it, you genuinely care about it. And what people don't realize about places like Monument and Plugged In, but I've seen Monument do it over and over again, which tells me that they truly are who they say they are, is they advocate for someone to get in and say for insurance reasons or something happens where it cuts out early, they will let that person stay and continue for the betterment of that person's life. A lot of treatment centers around will cut that person off because now all of a sudden they're just costing us a bed, they're costing us dollars. And what I've seen Monument do is they've held on to them for longer periods of time, longer days. They've stepped them down to their program where they're not going to get as much or whatever it is because it's the right thing to do for the client. And JP, Greg, yourself, you guys have developed that culture there, and you truly stand behind what you say, and that's what I love most about Monument.
Absolutely. We will. Both you, us, plugged in. We're wheels up. If we need to go pull people out of trap houses, out of hotels, out of jail, like, not a lot of people will do that. I've talked to you before and you're like, yeah, I'm going to this trap house to pick this person up. Like, you need help and we're there. Wheels up for sure.
I love it. So I'm going to end with this because it's going to definitely be still on here. I'm going to be on the side, but our other camera died. We're going to put Cassie and Monument's information at the bottom of this video. If you need any help, you can call them, reach out. Otherwise, quick little plug for you. Where can they find you?
You can go to our website at monumentrecovery.com or you can call me directly at 480-249-8818. I will answer myself.
Thank you so much, Cassie. We appreciate you.
Thanks. Love you guys.